Hey there, I'm Sopi and welcome to Sopi's Corner. Just as a friendly reminder, I am an attorney, but I am not your attorney. This content is for educational purposes only, and I am not providing you with any legal advice. All right, so today we are tackling a question that will blow your mind. We are tackling what's worth more. Is it 100% ownership or 100% control? Because here's a secret no one tells you about in entrepreneurship, especially if you're taking on investors. You can own the majority of your company and still get kicked out of your very own boardroom. So, how do you ask? Well, you see, we all glorify ownership percentages, but here's the reality: ownership doesn't always equal control. You can own 60% of your company and still get outvoted on every major decision. And that's because control lives in these three critical places. So if you are a person looking for investors, these are the things that I want to make sure you understand. Number one, board composition. Even if you own the majority of shares, if your board has investor appointed seats, they can outvote you. So picture a 5-person board. Investors get to appoint 2 seats and there's 1 independent director. You need 3 votes to win any decision, but you only control 2. So now you're the majority owner who can potentially get outvoted in your own company because you only control 2 board votes. Item number 2, the voting rights structures. Not all shares are created equal. Investors often negotiate for preferred shares at a 2x or even a 3x voting power. So that means that their 20% ownership stake might actually give them 40% of the voting control. And that means that your 51% common shares could be worth less than their 25% preferred shares when it comes time to vote. And then number 3, protective provisions and contract restrictions. This is a sneaky one. These are the clauses that gives investors or lenders veto power over key decisions regardless of your ownership percentage. So think of things like hiring a leadership team, signing major contracts, raising more funds, or even determining your own salary can potentially be blocked. So your signature as owner means nothing if they have the power to stop you. And I want you to keep that in mind. I want you to keep in mind that every funding round, every loan agreement, every partnership deal is potentially a trade-off. So you might gain capital, but you can be trading away pieces of your control, even if your ownership percentage stays high. So let me paint some real scenarios for you. So when it comes to board control, you can start with 100% ownership. After your first funding round, your Series A, you own 70%, but the investors gets 2 board seats out of the 5. After your Series B round, your ownership drops to 45%, but now investors control 3 out of 5 board seats. You're still the largest individual shareholder, but you've lost control of every major decision. Or when we think about the voting rights, I know a founder who just took on a new round of funding and felt safe after keeping 55% ownership. But the investors, in exchange for their capital, negotiated a 2-to-1 voting preferred shares. That meant that their 30% ownership actually controlled 60% of the votes. That founder learned the hard way that a majority in ownership doesn't always translate to a majority in voting power. Or when you think about contract control, right? I've seen founders who own 100% of their company but can't hire new leadership without lender approval. They can't change their business model without the board consent. And they can't even move to a new office without potentially violating a loan covenant. The fact is, even without a high-profile dispute, many founders experience conflicts where they technically own it all but find someone else calling the shots. And then there's this thing called drag-along rights. And it's exactly what they say. It's a clause where investors can drag you along to a sale, even if you don't want to sell. So if investors with these rights want to sell the company, your ownership percentage becomes meaningless because you are forced to sell too. The bottom line is, lenders and investors aren't villains. They are just protecting their investments, just like you're trying to protect yours. But you need to understand what you're trading away before you sign your name on that dotted line. Because ownership is powerful, but control is priceless. So before you give up control, ask these crucial questions. Who gets board seats and voting rights? What decisions require investor approval? What triggers can force me out or force a sale? And I want you to keep in mind that everything is normally negotiable. So let's start the conversation. Have you experienced conflicts between ownership and control in your own business? Any surprises about an investor or a lender agreement that you have come across? Share your experience in the comments so we can continue to build this community and help each other out. And I want you to subscribe for more Straight Talk. And next week, we're diving into intellectual property protection. We're diving into how to safeguard the very soul of your business. This is Sopi's Corner, where we get real about entrepreneurship. And remember, entrepreneurship is bigger than the dream.